So, getting into my topic, I wanted to talk about this whole CS:GO Lotto controversy. If you aren't familiar with the situation, basically there's this website that exists for CS:GO where you're allowed to gamble your skins that you get. If you're not familiar with CS:GO, it's basically an FPS game where the whole spiel is like the microtransactions allow you to buy keys for cases to get skins that are worth money depending on how rare they are. A lot of people like to sell them, but also people like to gamble them. So you put all your chips in one bucket against somebody else. It's essentially a coin toss, and whoever wins gets the whole pot, right? So that's basically what the CS:GO Lotto site does. The big controversy here is that two really big YouTubers by the name of ProSyndicate and tMARTn. If you don't know them, you probably do. They're two of the biggest gaming YouTubers.
If you don't know them, you probably do.
Yeah, they're that big. They're that big. They're known for Call of Duty, FPSs. ProSyndicate's known for being huge on Minecraft. So basically, what had come out is that they've done plenty of videos talking about this website. Never once did they mention they were sponsored or owned the website, which is completely fine, except for the fact they did own the website. Paperwork leaked of them, of their filings for the trademark and the property and everything like that. And tMARTn was actually the owner, and ProSyndicate is the vice president. The issue with this is under FTC guidelines, you must state that you have some affiliation with the company if you do, especially if you're linking the website or asking people to go and try it out. There's a whole separate issue of underage gambling. On their website, it actually stated that you had to be over the age of 13, but legally you have to be over the age of 18 to gamble. Obviously, there's some weird hearsay there of whether or not it was gambling, if it was legal or not, that part. The bigger issue is the FTC guidelines they broke, because this is a huge thing when it comes to YouTube and its integrity in online entertainment, period. You must state when you're sponsored or if you have an affiliation with the company. And what they did was illegal. The worst part is after all these accusations came out, tMARTn came out and said that it was never an issue. Everyone always knew that he owned the website. But yet, people went back to one of his first videos talking about CS:GO Lotto, and he essentially sits there and says, "Hey guys, I came across this new website, and it looked interesting. I won $69 on it, which isn't a whole lot, but I actually talked to the guys who own the website, and they were thinking about sponsoring me to win skins and stuff." So basically, he was saying that this, the way he pitched it was weird.
So with that, the date that he became an owner would be really important, right?
Well, no, from the beginning, that was the issue. Is that did he do this
founders.
video before he owned it?
Yeah, they started the company.
They started the company, so he owned it from day one. That was the issue. People are like, well, maybe he didn't own it at that point, right?
Right.
So he has a huge problem. ProSyndicate, I don't think... It's weird, because he's not really an owner, but he did do bad. But this tMARTn guy... So ProSyndicate went on Twitter and he apologized and he said this isn't what they meant to do. tMARTn took a different approach and he actually made a video basically saying I didn't do anything wrong, nothing, whatever, and then he removed that video. So they're taking two separate paths towards that, and I really think the path ProSyndicate is taking is going to be more beneficial to him in the future, because he's basically saying, yeah, we messed up, right? And this tMARTn guy saying, we didn't mess up. And they went afterwards, after all this stuff broke, and they went to each of their descriptions for their videos, or at least tMARTn did, and posted sponsored by or I own the website. But you can go back and there's ways you can find out when certain descriptions of YouTube videos were edited, and you can see what the old description said. So there's a huge FTC investigation happening right now. There might be legal actions taking place. And I thought this was a huge story. Jordan talked to me about maybe making this a topic. It's a huge story in the gaming community, because especially in YouTube, in the realm of sponsorships and stuff like that, people need to be honest with their audience. And a lot of these guys are watched by young kids. We're not their demographic. Their demographic are like kids between the ages of 18 and 15. And they're very impressionable. I remember when I was that age, I was the same way. And I think that what they did was inherently wrong. I think that they weren't necessarily evil in their actions, but they knew what they were doing. They get an 8% cut, by the way, of every transaction that takes place on the website. And the whole thing of owning the back end is if you own a gambling site, there's laws in place that you can actually participate, because that means that you can have the odds stacked in your favor. So that's another issue here, is that they actually actively participate on the website and they own it.
Jesus, dude, they're about to get fucked.
So... If you own a gambling site, you can't take place in it. That's why whenever you sign up for DraftKings or anything like that, they say are you or anybody in your family employed, right?
It seems odd, because say you somehow cheated because you got you're an insider, but you're cheating and stealing from your own company. So what?
Well, you're not stealing from your own company because you only get 8% of the profit from each transaction. But if you beat somebody and take all their skins, you're getting 100% of the profit.
Yeah.
Also,
they were rigging the system,
and it's not. Sure. And it also, the big issue is not whether or not they rigged the system; it's the fact that they could have, and that's the biggest issue. It's not whether or not they took advantage of it; it's the fact that they had the capability to. That's a big issue here too, And this is a huge issue going forward. I think that this is a huge problem for Valve. I think that they should have been ahead of themselves in shutting this stuff down. I think they should have been a lot more forthright in trying to get this stuff shut down. They run their own marketplace for CS:GO skins, but this gambling stuff, they could take legal action towards this, and it doesn't seem like they cared enough because they make enough money from Steam and stuff. Like, I think as a company, and CS:GO was created by Valve, I think that they should have been forthright about trying to get this stuff shut down. Whether or not this would have happened, I think the gambling whole aspect of it is really weird and really sketchy. But I've talked for too long. So what are your guys' impressions about this whole thing?
So I agree with you. It is inherently wrong, and it's shady, and it's misleading, right? I mean, that would be like, someone paying you to give a promotion or a positive review on a game, and you don't mention that, right? You mislead people to think you're an unbiased, objective opinion, right?
That actually happened with Machinima a couple years back.
Yeah, and see, I agree that it's inherently wrong. It's morally where you shouldn't do it, and I would stop following the person. I'd stop subscribing to their content, for example. But I don't think that justifies it being legally wrong. I think that's where the line should be drawn. That's just where I stand on it. Because what if, I don't know. It just seems weird because, if they take legal action against them and they get fined for millions of dollars, then these kids are going to be bankrupt or who knows what. I don't know. I just don't see it as a legal issue. I think it's just a moral issue, really.
Well, the thing is that I understand where you're coming from of if it's morally good or morally bad, but there are laws in place, and if you break the law, you have legal action. So it's
but as Hillary Clinton taught us, you can be ignorant of the law and get away with it because of that.
Yeah, but neither of these guys are presidential candidates. So, Jordan, what's your take on this whole thing?
Maybe a weak comparison. But...
a good comparison. I like it.
I think, this is pretty fucked up. It's pretty shitty if you ask me. I think there seems to be stuff like this going on in a lot of PC games. And... there's Star Citizen and there's EVE Online. I remember there's tons of people that'll screw people because you can spend real money, a shit ton of real money on ships and stuff in EVE Online, and I've heard of people getting scammed over there and stuff. And so this seems to be part of PC gaming, and I think obviously YouTube is a big part of gaming, so when you connect those two, I just think with the following that these two guys have, as massive as it is on YouTube, I wouldn't be surprised if this was the scam all along. They're like, hey, we're going to start this website, we're going to start promoting it and act like we don't know anything about it, act like somebody else told us about it, and then we're going to make a shit ton of money. And I think that may be the case here. I think this is totally a legal issue. I think these guys deserve legal action taken against them. And I think that they should probably be, banned from Counter-Strike.
They're going to be made examples of, if that's one thing where...
I think they should, because this is part of the dark side of online gaming, and this is the stuff I don't like to see.
They might lose monetization on YouTube, period, which is huge for those guys. Each of those guys make at least 6 figures on YouTube. On top of, they make 8% from this website, and they're already on match 95,000. So if just do the simple math on that.
And I'm talking about you were just talking about sponsorships on YouTube, and that's a huge, huge thing right now. YouTube has changed from this, home video uploading website to now where it is a huge, huge source of income for tons and tons of people. And so this is the type of stuff that needs to, quit. This stuff needs to go away on YouTube because this is the type of stuff that is ruining YouTube in a way, and especially YouTube gaming. So yeah, I'm really not cool with this. I think they really fucked up, and yeah, like this is some shit, man. I'm not cool with it at all.
I have to disagree with you that the sponsorship stuff is inherent, like is wrong for YouTube. I understand it because
no. That's not what I was saying.
I might have misunderstood you. Go ahead.
It's a big part of YouTube, and when it's used like this, or like for example, Rooster Teeth was talking shit about Jeff Gerstmann's honest review of Fallout 4, which I read and I thought was totally fine. And they're like talking crap about him while they're all three wearing Pip-Boys that they got from a sponsorship.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you guys can't fucking do this. Like, you're acting like assholes, you know? And I think that this is the same situation. So I don't think that the change of YouTube from, like, you know, like I said, like home videos to this big sponsorship money-making thing is a bad thing. But it's very bad when it gets taken advantage of, like those two examples.
Yeah, but I do appreciate Rooster Teeth and companies like Kind of Funny and stuff because they're always upfront about their sponsorships. And they've also turned down sponsorship plenty of times because it didn't maybe merge with the company or stuff like that. Like, I understand where you're coming from, the whole Jeff Gerstmann thing, but
I'm cool with companies and YouTubers having sponsorships. But like I said, when you're talking shit about someone who just wrote an honest review of Fallout 4, the way that they thought about it, and then you're obviously being sponsored by Fallout 4 on that very podcast with these goofy ass Pip-Boys on your hand, I just think that's shady as fuck to me.
So quick question. So to clear this up, I'm assuming that Jeff Gerstmann's review of Fallout was negative, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't say negative. Like, it was like a 3 out of 4 stars.
Right. Less favorable than someone like me would, you know.
Less favorable. It wasn't a 9 out of 10. It wasn't like an 8.5 out of 10. It was probably more like a
it wasn't a
8.
A popular score. How about, you know?
They thought that he was trying to be a contrarian and that he was trying to be the cool guy with the
but that's also
opinion.
their opinion. Like, they're allowed, just like Jeff Gerstmann's allowed to have his opinion on whether or not Fallout's bad or not. They're allowed to have their opinion on his opinion. That's just how it is. And I understand where you're coming from. Like, if they weren't wearing Fallout gear, then that's perfectly fine. But the fact that they brought that up at that time, I do think it was terrible timing. Do I think it was in bad taste? Maybe. But I do think the timing was bad. I do agree with you on that. But, yeah. The whole thing with like the sponsorships is I'm completely, like I said, 100% fine if they're upfront with it. People need to live. People need to get paid. The issue comes down to when people are shady about it, like you said, or people don't talk about it. And I think a lot of it has to do with a lot of these up and coming YouTubers or gamers on Twitch are young and they don't either care enough or they don't understand enough to put your sponsorships outright. Also, I think a lot of these companies, especially on PC, because there's a lot of games in what is it called, Greenlight, early access, that are like, we need vision on our game. We need people to know our game exists. Take this money. But they never mention to the streamer, hey, when you're showing this game off, you need to say that you got paid to talk about this game, because they don't know anything about that stuff. So therefore, the streamer's not at fault for not knowing. You know. But
I would like to reiterate that, you know, I'm not against sponsorships on YouTube. I'm not against advertising and monetization on YouTube. I think that was always going to be the evolution of YouTube since it started from like the home video thing. But I just think that there is a lot of shady practices. I'm not saying, you know, it's always Rooster Teeth. I'm not saying Kind of Funny. I'm just saying, like, there are people like these Counter-Strike guys out there.
Yeah, they take advantage of it. Yep.
That take advantage of their audiences too in such a terrible way, where they're like, hey guys, you know, I love you so much. You're the only reason I get to do this. I would be nothing without the fans. And then they're, you know, screwing them. So I just don't like that.
Yeah, I think it's a very... This is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back, and these guys are going to be made an example of. Like, I think it's going to happen. There's always the case where, you know, people have maybe been doing it for a while, but something big happens, and guess what? You're the one that gets the you know, the blunt end of the stick. So I really think that they're going to be made an example of. We'll see where it goes from here. I really think the way they're approaching it is going to affect the way they come down on them. I think ProSyndicate is probably going to have less of an effect on him than it is on tMARTn for the way they're handling it post it happening. I think that ProSyndicate's approach of, yeah, it happened, it sucks, I'm sorry, I screwed up, and tMARTn's like, I was always up front, you know. I think that's going to play a huge factor in it too.
It could go the reverse too, because ProSyndicate essentially just you know, pleaded guilty right there.
Yeah.
Admitted that, you read what I'm saying? Whereas this is such a technical and kind of, there could be a lot of details involved where it could be a whole big lawyer match, and then tMARTn could still get off, you know, based on whatever. whereas the other guy kind of just admitted guilt.
But the thing is, for
Might be
tMARTn,
worse.
there's video evidence of him saying that it was open to the public, that they also knew about it, and then going back to that original video saying that, hey, I found this website. Ooh, this is weird. You know.
My biggest question: what do you guys think? Are these guys serving jail time?
No.
You're gonna
They
get
have too much.
fined
They have
heavily,
too much
though.
money. They have too much money.
Do you think they should?
No.
I don't think it. That's where it comes down to a huge issue because
I mean, it's kind of a white collar crime, you know.
It won't be like anything that even gets put on their records or anything at most, and they could even settle, right? Like an out of
it just
settlement.
also depends on what the FTC wants to do and how they handle this. Like, what if YouTube gets involved? YouTube can pay for whatever lawyers they want to get these guys down because this ultimately looks bad on YouTube too. You know, that YouTube is allowing this kind of stuff to happen. So it's going to be an interesting case moving forward. This is definitely going to have a resolution in about 2.5 years, considering the way our justice system is.
Exactly.
But we'll find out. It's a crazy thing.